He's just at a 2-day conference. That's what my husband told me before disappearing for 6 days. When he finally walked through our Denver apartment door, tanned and relaxed, he found me sitting at his architect's desk, the same desk where he'd hidden receipts, drafted lies, and planned his escape with her. Only this time, there was something new waiting for him, a manila envelope containing divorce papers, forensic accounting reports, and photos from a private investigator. He called me overreacting when I changed the locks. I smiled and said, "You're right, I'm reacting with a lawyer. My name is Harper Lane, and I don't overreact, I calculate. At 31, I've built my career as a brand analyst at Northwind Strategies, where I dissect consumer behavior patterns and predict market shifts before they happen. It's a skill that bleeds into every aspect of my life, including the slow unraveling of my 7-year marriage to Grant Walker. Grant is 35, an architect at Kepler Design Group, with hands that sketch dreams into blueprints and a smile that once made me believe in forever. We met at a Cherry Creek farmer's market, him buying heirloom tomatoes for a dinner party he'd never actually host, me analyzing foot traffic patterns for a client presentation. Our life together in our 2-bedroom Denver apartment seemed perfectly balanced. Friday night takeout with Netflix, weekend market runs that turned into impromptu wine tastings, 2 home offices that reflected our contrasting styles. My desk sits in the corner of our 2nd bedroom, organized like a presentation deck, color-coded files, labeled drawers, every pen in its designated slot. Grant's desk dominates the living room, a chaotic landscape of rolled blueprints, scattered sketches, and coffee rings on mahogany. He calls it creative energy. I call it controlled chaos. That desk would later become the stage for our final act. The apartment itself is mine. Technically, my grandmother's inheritance made the down payment possible, and my name sits alone on the deed, a detail Grant dismissed as just paperwork when we married. "What's yours is mine," he'd say, kissing my forehead. I believed him then. Now I understand that phrase worked only in one direction. The first crack appeared 6 months ago, Chanel No. 5 on his collar when I wear only Tom Ford. Then came the 5:30 a.m. alarms on Wednesdays when his meetings never started before 9. The phone permanently face down on every surface. The Thursday routine that emerged like clockwork, $200 withdrawn from our joint account, always from the ATM on 17th Street, always around noon. I started keeping a spreadsheet, not because I'm paranoid, but because I'm thorough. Every Thursday, $200. Every Thursday evening, a credit card charge at Midtown Bistro, always for 2, never with me. Friday mornings brought hotel charges, client entertainment, he'd explain, though his expense reports to Kepler never reflected these meetings. The beauty of being a data analyst is that patterns tell stories. Grant's story was writing itself in transaction histories and location data. The 200 cash became dinner, became hotel, became a routine as predictable as his morning coffee order. But I needed more than patterns. I needed proof. 3 weeks into my documentation, I found her name Tessa Marlowe, a project manager at Kepler, reporting directly to Grant's team. Her LinkedIn showed a bright smile and an MBA from DU. Her Instagram, carelessly public, featured weekend shots from Aspen Ridge cabins the same weekends Grant had site visits in Colorado Springs. I could have confronted him then, could have screamed, cried, thrown his blueprints off the balcony like confetti celebrating the death of trust. That's what Grant would expect: emotional, reactive, hysterical. But I don't overreact. I strategize. The Thursday pattern continued: 200, dinner, hotel, each week. I documented, each week. I smiled over our Friday takeout, listened to his fabricated stories about difficult clients and demanding deadlines. Each week, I felt myself transforming from wounded wife to something sharper, more deliberate. "You've been distant," Grant mentioned one evening, his fingers tracing the rim of his wine glass. We were sitting at our kitchen island, the Denver skyline glittering beyond our window. "Just busy with the Morrison Industries rebrand," I replied, slicing through my salmon with surgical precision. You work too much, he said, reaching for my hand. His wedding ring caught the light, the same ring that came off every Thursday, based on the photos I'd started collecting. I let him hold my hand, counting the seconds until I could politely withdraw. Someone has to pay attention to the details. He laughed, that easy laugh that once made me feel safe. You and your spreadsheets. Sometimes I think you analyze everything to death. Not everything, I said, meeting his eyes. Just the things that matter. The transformation from pain to data began in Lena Cruz's office on a Tuesday afternoon. Lena had been my friend since college, now Denver's most ruthless divorce attorney with a success rate that made cheating spouses sweat. Her downtown office overlooked the same street where Grant made his weekly withdrawals. Don't confront him yet, Lena said. Her manicured fingers steepled like a general planning an invasion. Emotional confrontations give them time to hide assets, craft narratives, play victim. You need to freeze your emotions and switch on data collection mode. She slid a legal pad across her glass desk. 3 pillars of evidence. First, financial. Screenshot everything: bank statements, credit cards, investment accounts. Create a spreadsheet with color coding. Track patterns like you're analyzing consumer behavior for Northwind. I nodded, already mentally organizing pivot tables. Second, timeline verification. Pull your phone plan's usage logs. You're on a family plan. Right. Cross-reference his location data with parking receipts, toll records, credit card transactions. Build a map of lies. Third, she continued, her voice dropping to surgical coldness. Behavioral documentation. Screenshots of suspicious texts, photos of him coming home late, anything that breaks pattern. That evening, while Grant attended another client dinner, I began my forensic exploration of our financial life. Our joint checking account told its story in vivid detail. Thursday withdrawals in screaming yellow highlights, restaurant charges in bitter orange, hotel transactions in betrayal red. The pattern stretched back 7 months, totaling over $6,000 in cash alone. I photographed every receipt in his wallet while he showered, logged into our phone carrier's website, and downloaded 6 months of call logs. His number appeared repeatedly paired with one specific contact: calls at lunch, texts past midnight, location data showing their phones together at Aspen Ridge Cabins. The next morning, Grant left his laptop open while grabbing coffee. A notification popped up, an email preview from Tessa Marlowe. Last night was perfect. Can't wait for Santa Fe. I screenshot it before the preview disappeared, my hands steady despite the rage burning through my chest. You okay, babe? Grant called from the kitchen. You look intense. Just analyzing user engagement metrics, I replied, closing his laptop carefully. You know how I get with data. That afternoon, I met Mason Reddick at a coffee shop in Capitol Hill. Lena had recommended him former Denver PD, now private investigator specializing in infidelity cases. He looked like someone's grandfather until you noticed his eyes, sharp as a forensic accountant's pencil. 2-week surveillance package, Mason said, sliding a contract across the table. I'll track his Thursday routine, document any meetings, photograph relevant interactions, everything admissible in court, everything discreet. How discreet? I asked. He'll never know I exist unless you want him to. I signed the contract with the same pen I'd used to sign our marriage certificate 7 years ago. The irony wasn't lost on me. That night, I started a new journal, not the leather-bound one where I used to write about our dreams and plans, but a digital document titled Strategic Documentation. Each entry became a tactical assessment. Day 12. Subject maintains routine. $200 withdrawal at 12:15 p.m. Dinner charge at Midtown Bistro at 7:43 p.m. Hotel charge processes at 11:21 p.m. Subject returns home at 1:45 a.m. Claiming project deadline. Subject's shirt smells of unfamiliar perfume. Subject's wedding ring shows signs of repeated removal, tan line inconsistency. The hardest part wasn't the evidence gathering, it was the performance. Sitting through dinners, pretending his touch didn't make my skin crawl. laughing at his jokes while documenting his lies. I became method actress and data analyst combined, playing the role of oblivious wife while building my case with algorithmic precision. "You seem happier lately," Grant mentioned one Friday over pad thai, our usual takeout spread across the coffee table. "New project at work," I said, twirling noodles with practiced calm. "It's about identifying patterns in seemingly random data sets." "Sounds boring," he laughed, reaching for another spring roll. "Actually, it's fascinating," I replied, watching him check his phone for the third time in 10 minutes. "You'd be amazed what patterns reveal when you pay attention." His phone buzzed. Tessa again, based on the way his pupils dilated. "Important?" I asked. "Just work," he said, typing quickly. "Design review moved to Monday." I nodded, mentally adding another entry to my documentation. 8:47 p.m. Subject receives text, exhibits physiological arousal responses, pupil dilation, increased respiratory rate, claims work-related, pattern suggests personal communication. The transition from heartbreak to strategy was complete. I wasn't Harper the wounded wife anymore. I was Harper the analyst, and Grant had become my most important data set. Mason Reddick's report arrived via encrypted email on a Wednesday morning while Grant was at his supposed early meeting. 2 weeks of surveillance condensed into a PDF that mapped out my husband's double life with brutal clarity. The photographs were professionally composed, almost artistic in their devastating precision. Grant and Tessa at Aspen Ridge Cabins, her head on his shoulder as they watched the sunset. Grant carrying wine and groceries into cabin number 12. Their hands intertwined across a candlelit table at Romano's. The Italian place he'd said was overpriced and pretentious when I'd suggested it for our anniversary. Tessa wearing the earrings I'd noticed missing from my jewelry box, small gold hoops my grandmother had left me. Subject and companion checked into Aspen Ridge Cabins at 4:37 p.m. on Thursday. Mason's notes read with clinical detachment. Stayed until Sunday afternoon. 3 consecutive weekends documented. Pattern established. But the affair was only part of the picture. Lena had insisted on hiring a forensic accountant, someone who could follow money like Mason followed people. What they found transformed my cold anger into strategic fury. "Your husband opened a separate account 7 months ago," the accountant explained over video call, sharing his screen to reveal Grant's hidden financial life. $26,900 accumulated through unreported freelance projects and bonuses he never mentioned. The proof spread across my monitor architectural consultations paid directly to an account I'd never known existed. Quarterly bonuses diverted before they hit our joint account. Even a tax refund from an amended return he'd filed without telling me. This constitutes both asset dissipation and concealment, Lena explained later that afternoon in her office. He's been spending marital assets on his affair while simultaneously hiding money for what appears to be an exit strategy. An exit strategy, I repeated, the words tasting metallic. He was planning to leave. The pattern suggests preparation for departure. The account, the affair, the gradual emotional withdrawal you've documented textbook preparation for abandonment. I laughed, surprising both of us. He was going to leave me after everything I stopped, reorganizing my thoughts. "Oh, how much can I recover? All of it," Lena said with predatory satisfaction. "Every penny he spent on her, every dollar he hid, plus penalties for the concealment. Colorado law takes a dim view of asset dissipation during marriage." That night, I sat at my organized desk, transforming from wounded spouse to strategic planner. My journal entries evolved from documentation to battle plans. Objective: protect assets, ensure accountability, prevent continued financial hemorrhaging. Method: legal action with full documentation. Timeline: immediate action required before subject depletes additional resources. Desired outcome: complete recovery of dissipated assets. Retention of apartment. Clean separation without extended conflict. I found myself oddly calm, the way I felt when presenting quarterly reports to hostile clients. This wasn't about revenge, not exactly. It was about preventing further damage, like containing a data breach before it corrupted the entire system. Grant noticed the shift in me, though he misread it entirely. "You seem different lately," he said over breakfast, his architect's eye studying my face. "More focused." "I've been working on a big presentation," I replied, spreading honey on my toast with mechanical precision. "About recognizing patterns of loss in consumer loyalty." "Sounds complicated." "Not really. It's about identifying when someone's about to leave before they actually do. The signs are always there if you know how to read the data." He shifted uncomfortably, his coffee mug pausing midway to his lips. "And can you predict when someone's going to leave?" I met his eyes directly. "Every time. The Thursday patterns are particularly telling." His face went pale for just a moment before recovering. "Thursday patterns. Statistical anomaly in consumer behavior. Thursdays show the highest rate of deviation from established patterns." "Interesting," he mumbled, suddenly very focused on his phone. I returned to my toast, adding another mental note. Subject exhibits stress responses when confronted with pattern recognition language. Defensive positioning suggests awareness of discovery risk. The forensic accountant sent another update that afternoon. They'd found more a credit card I didn't know about, payments to a jewelry store, reservations at hotels in Santa Fe for the following week. "Santa Fe?" I asked Lena over the phone. "Let me guess he's about to have a sudden business trip." "How did you know?" "Because they always do. It's either a conference, a client meeting, or a family emergency. They get sloppy when they're close to leaving." I looked at the data spread across my monitor's financial records, photographs, timelines, behavioral patterns, 7 months of deception quantified and cataloged like a failed product launch. "I won't let him make me the fool who didn't see it coming," I said. "Honey," Lena replied, "you're about to make him the fool who didn't see you coming." "There's a design conference in Santa Fe this weekend," Grant announced Thursday evening, his lie sliding across our kitchen island as smoothly as the wine he poured. "Just found out I need to present the Morrison Tower project." I didn't look up from my laptop, fingers steady on the keys. "When do you leave?" "Tomorrow afternoon. Back Monday. Maybe Tuesday if the client meetings run long." 6 days? He was giving himself 6 days with her. "I checked with Kepler's events coordinator," I said, still typing. "Linda Martinez. She said there's no conference scheduled." The wine paused midway to his lips. "It's not a Kepler event. Industry thing. Invitation only." "Of course it is," I replied, finally meeting his eyes. "Have a safe trip." His relief was palpable, shoulders dropping as he escaped to pack. I listened to him humming in our bedroom, actually humming while folding clothes for his romantic getaway. The sound triggered something primal in me. Not rage, but cold clarity. He was done pretending, and so was I. The moment his car disappeared down 17th Street on Friday afternoon, I transformed our apartment into a war room. 72 hours to execute what I'd been planning for weeks. First call Lena. "He's gone. Initialize everything. Divorce papers will be filed Monday morning at 8 sharp," she confirmed. "Asset freeze motions are ready." "What about the apartment?" "Starting now." Second call. A locksmith I'd researched weeks ago. "Emergency lock replacement needed, within the hour if possible." By 6 p.m., new locks secured every entrance. By 7, I'd updated the building's resident list with management, removing Grant's access privileges and explaining there was a security concern. The building manager, a divorced woman named Patricia, didn't ask questions when she saw my face. Third task, financial separation. Our joint account balance transferred to my new individual account at a different bank, leaving only the state minimum to keep it open. Every automatic payment rerouted, credit cards canceled, investment accounts frozen pending legal action. Each transaction documented, photographed, and backed up to 3 different cloud services. Asset protection during marital dissolution. I wrote in the memo field of each transfer. Let him explain that to a judge. Saturday morning. I tackled the physical space. Grant's belongings migrated from our bedroom to the living room in organized battalions, clothes in wardrobe boxes, books in labeled containers, his precious architectural awards wrapped in bubble wrap like artifacts from a dead civilization. I wasn't vindictive, I was thorough. Every item cataloged, photographed, and listed in a spreadsheet. His desk, that chaotic landscape of creativity I saved for last. Rolled blueprints went into tubes, sketches into portfolios. I found receipts hidden under the desk pad, restaurant bills from places I'd never been, hotel confirmations for dates he was supposedly working late. All of it went into a folder marked Evidence Supplemental. Sunday. I assembled what Lena called the accountability kit, a manila envelope, butter yellow and innocuous, that would detonate Grant's carefully constructed fiction. Inside, organized with tabs and color-coding divorce petition, already filed with the court mason's surveillance photos, including one of Grant kissing Tessa, time-stamped during a client emergency, the forensic accountant's report, highlighting the $26,900 in hidden assets, bank statements with every Thursday withdrawal highlighted, a formal letter barring him from accessing joint accounts, building management's notice of access revocation, a comprehensive spreadsheet calculating the total marital assets he'd dissipated $32,400 in affair expenses, hidden money, and unexplained purchases. The pièce de résistance an email from Aurora Works' HR department that I'd been copied on by accident, or perhaps by a sympathetic admin who'd noticed the pattern. Kepler Design Group was opening an investigation into Grant's inappropriate relationship with a subordinate. Tessa reported to him directly, making this a violation of company policy that could end both their careers. I placed the envelope on his desk, the clean, empty desk that now looked like a courtroom exhibit, centered perfectly where his coffee mug usually left rings. Monday passed in eerie calm. I worked from home, refreshing flight trackers that showed no Denver-bound flights from Santa Fe because there was no conference. Tuesday morning arrived with silence. By Tuesday afternoon, I'd stopped checking my phone. He finally texted at 4:23 p.m. "Conference running long, back tomorrow." "Take your time," I replied, then poured myself a glass of the good wine we'd been saving for a special occasion. Wednesday at 2:15 p.m. I heard his key fail in the lock, the scratching of metal on metal, confusion transforming into irritation. His text arrived seconds later. "Key doesn't work. Very funny. Let me in." I waited exactly 5 minutes before responding. "New locks. Ring the doorbell." When I opened the door, he stood there with his weekend bag, designer stubble, and a tan that definitely didn't come from conference rooms. "What the hell? Harper, why would you change the locks?" "Security upgrade," I said, stepping aside. "Come in. Your things are in the living room." He pushed past me, then stopped. The apartment looked like a staging area for an estate sale, his life neatly boxed and labeled, waiting for removal. "Harper, what is this? Are you seriously this upset about a conference?" "There was no conference," I said quietly. "But there is something on your desk you need to see." Grant's face cycled through expressions like a malfunctioning slideshow: confusion, irritation, then a flicker of fear as he noticed his empty desk. The manila envelope sat there like a judge's gavel waiting to fall. "What is this?" "Harper. Some kind of joke." "Sit down," I said, gesturing to his desk chair. "In your spot, where you do your best work." "You're being dramatic. Whatever you think happened." "I don't think anything. I know." "Sit." He walked slowly to his desk, his architect's confidence crumbling with each step. The chair creaked as he sat, the envelope now directly in front of him. His hands hesitated above it. "Open it," I said, positioning myself by the window, backlit by Denver's afternoon sun. "Take your time. It's comprehensively organized." His fingers fumbled with the metal clasp. The first document slid out the divorce petition, already stamped with the court's filing number. "You filed already," his voice cracked, "without even talking to me. Keep reading." The surveillance photos came next. His face went white as he saw himself with Tessa at Aspen Ridge Cabins. Then came the one of them kissing outside Romano's, his wedding ring conspicuously absent, time-stamped during what he'd called a structural emergency at the Morrison site. Harper, this isn't you hired someone to follow me. I hired someone to document the truth. There's a difference. He flipped to the financial reports, his breathing becoming shallow as he read the forensic accountant's findings. How did you find the $26,900 you've been hiding? The same way I found everything else. By paying attention to patterns. It's what I do. Remember, this money was for us, he stammered. For our future. Our future. In an account with only your name. Funded by freelance work you never mentioned. Please, Grant. Even your lies are getting sloppy. He reached the bank statements. Those Thursday withdrawals glowing yellow under my highlighting. His fingers traced the pattern $200, week after week, a breadcrumb trail leading straight to Tessa. You went through my bank statements, our bank statements, from our joint account, that you were draining for your girlfriend. She's not we're just... Stop. I pulled out my phone, scrolling to a screenshot. Last night was perfect. Can't wait for Santa Fe. That's from Tessa's email to you. Would you like me to read the others? He slumped in his chair, the architect's perfect posture finally collapsing. Harper, please. We can talk about this. I made a mistake. Mistake. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. This is 7 months of systematic deception, asset dissipation, and theft. Theft. That's extreme. Don't you think you're overreacting? There it was. The word I'd been waiting for. I smiled, the expression feeling foreign on my face. Overreacting. You think documenting fraud is overreacting. Protecting my assets is overreacting. Filing for divorce when my husband spends $32,000 on his affair is overreacting. $32,000? That's insane. Page 12, I said calmly. Itemized spreadsheet. Every dinner, every hotel, every weekend cabin, every cash withdrawal, plus the hidden account. Would you like me to walk you through the pivot tables? He frantically flipped pages, finding the spreadsheet with its color-coded categories and damning totals. This is crazy. You've gone crazy with your spreadsheets and your highlighting. Turn to the last document. The Aurora Works email stopped him mid-rant. His face went from pale to gray as he read about Kepler's investigation into inappropriate supervisor-subordinate relationships. How did you get this? Someone at Kepler has a conscience. Apparently, you weren't as discreet as you thought. HR has been building their own file. This could ruin my career. That's not overreacting. He stood abruptly, the chair spinning. Harper, listen to me. Please. We can work this out. I'll end it with Tessa. We can go to counseling. No. I love you. You love my apartment. The one my grandmother's money bought. The one only my name is on. His face flushed. That's not fair. I contributed. You paid utilities and groceries while I covered the mortgage, maintenance, and taxes. It's all documented on page 18. You can't just kick me out. I have rights. You have 72 hours to remove your belongings per Colorado law. Building management has already revoked your access. If you need to enter after today, security will escort you. Where am I supposed to go? I imagine Tessa has room, or you could use some of that $26,000 you saved for our future. He stood there, designer stubble and Santa Fe tan looking ridiculous in the afternoon light. You're really doing this throwing away 7 years. I'm not throwing anything away. I'm protecting what's left. Sign the acknowledgement. What acknowledgement? I pulled out a single sheet from my laptop bag. Confirming you've received and understand all documentation. Lena insisted. I'm not signing anything. Then we do this the hard way. Depositions, discovery, forensic audits of every account you've ever touched. Lena loves the hard way. His hands shook as he signed, the architect's usually precise signature wavering like a failed blueprint. This is an overreaction, he said one more time, desperately. You're overreacting to something that didn't mean anything. I walked to the door and opened it. You're right. I am overreacting. I'm reacting with facts, documentation, and legal representation. I'm reacting with the full weight of Colorado divorce law. I'm reacting by taking back my life and my assets. Harper, you called it overreacting when I asked about the Thursday withdrawals, when I questioned the late meetings, when I noticed the new cologne. Every concern was an overreaction. So congratulations, Grant. You finally got the overreaction you've been accusing me of all along. Grant stood frozen in the doorway, his architect's mind visibly trying to redesign the situation, to find some structural support in his collapsing narrative. The manila envelope hung from his hand like a surrender flag. You can't be serious, he said, voice shifting to a tone I recognized, the one he used with difficult clients, mixing authority with calculated warmth. Harper, we're adults. We can discuss this rationally. I remained by his desk, my hand resting on its empty surface. We are discussing it rationally. That's what the documentation is for. Documentation. This is our marriage, not a quarterly report. Funny how you didn't think that when you were filing amended tax returns without telling me. He flinched, then tried another approach. Okay, I fucked up. I admit it. But this nuclear option divorce paper's already filed. That's not like you. You're right. The old Harper would have cried, begged for an explanation, maybe believed your lies about conferences and client dinners, but I evolved. Data does that. It changes you. This is about revenge. No, I said, pulling his desk chair back and sitting in it myself. This is about assets. $32,000 in dissipated marital assets, to be specific, plus the hidden account. You keep coming back to the money, because that's what the court will care about, not your feelings, not your excuses, just the numbers. Grant moved closer, trying to use his height advantage, but I'd positioned myself perfectly, him standing like a petitioner, me seated at his own desk like a judge. Wow, what if I don't agree to this? He asked. What if I fight it? Then we go to trial. Lena loves trials. She's particularly good at deposing mistresses. I wonder how Tessa will handle questions about the earrings, you know. My grandmother's gold hoops she's been wearing. His face went slack. You know about page 7, photo from Mason's surveillance. She's wearing them at dinner. I can explain. To a judge, please do. Explain taking family heirlooms to give to your project manager. I'm sure that will play well. He crumpled then, sinking into the armchair we'd bought together at an estate sale in Cherry Creek. What do you want, Harper? I want what's fair. The apartment stays mine, it always was. You get your personal items, your car, your 401k. We split the joint savings after adding back what you stole. Stole is a strong, spent on your affair and hidden secret accounts? What would you call it? And if I agree? Clean break. Uncontested divorce. We file the settlement agreement Lena prepared, and you're free to start your new life with Tessa by Valentine's Day. How did you know we were? He stopped himself, but too late. Planning to leave together the Santa Fe hotel reservation was for a reconnaissance trip. Wasn't it job hunting? I particularly enjoyed the irony of using our money to plan your escape. Grant's phone buzzed. Tessa. No doubt, wondering why he hadn't checked in. He silenced it without looking. She doesn't know. Does she? I asked. About the investigation at Kepler. That's none of your. Actually, it's very much my business. Community property state. Remember, your potential unemployment affects my financial exposure. You're enjoying this. I considered that for a moment. No, I'm completing it. There's a difference. Enjoyment would require feeling something, and I've moved past that. This is just process now. Clean, efficient process. When did you become so cold? Thursday, number 15. I answered without hesitation. When I mapped the pattern and realized you weren't having an affair, you were leaving. The affair was just your exit strategy. That's not. Your hidden account started 2 weeks before Tessa joined Kepler. You were looking for an escape hatch before you even met her. She was just convenient. His phone buzzed again. This time he looked, and I saw panic flash across his features. Problem? I asked. Kepler's HR wants to see me tomorrow morning at 8. That would be about the investigation. I'd hire a lawyer if I were you. Though that might be difficult with your assets frozen. You did that? The court did that. Standard procedure in cases of asset dissipation. Page 22 has the details. He stood abruptly, pacing to the window. Downtown Denver spread below us, the city where we'd built our life. Now, just geography. I need time to think. You have until Monday to respond to the petition. Lena's contact information is on page 2. This is really it, 7 years, and you're done, just like that. Just like that? I laughed, surprising us both. Grant, you've been leaving for 7 months. I'm just finalizing your exit. I wasn't. Save it for someone who hasn't read your credit card statements. Jewelry stores, apartment hunting websites. That consultation with a financial planner about restructuring assets for major life changes. Each revelation hit him like a physical blow. You went through my email, our shared iPad. Your email syncs automatically. You might want to update your security settings, though I suppose it's too late for that advice. The silence stretched between us like an architect's blueprint, all clean lines and measured spaces. Grant stood at the window, his reflection ghost-like against the Denver skyline. I remained at his desk, hands folded over the manila envelope that had just demolished 7 years. I need to get some things, he finally said. Your clothes are boxed in the living room, toiletries in the blue container by the door. He turned, and for a moment I saw the man I'd married confused, vulnerable, searching for solid ground. Then his lawyer's son instincts kicked in, and his face hardened. This is illegal. You can't just lock me out. Page 23. Colorado revised statutes regarding temporary possession of marital home during dissolution proceedings. The apartment's in my name. You have no legal claim to residency. We lived here together for, which establishes absolutely nothing legally. Ask your father, though I'd imagine that conversation will be awkward. Grant's father was a semi-retired attorney who'd spent 40 years preaching about the sanctity of marriage contracts. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. My phone rang. Lena's name appeared on the screen. Should I take this? I asked, finger hovering over the accept button. It's your show, Grant said bitterly. I put her on speaker. Hi, Lena. You're on speaker with Grant. Perfect timing. Lena's voice filled the room with professional ice. Grant, I'm Lena Cruz, Harper's attorney. I wanted to confirm you've received the petition and accompanying documentation. This is ambush, Grant said. This is Colorado's dissolution process. Has Harper provided you with the settlement proposal? The extortion letter. Yes. Extortion is a criminal allegation. Mr. Walker, would you like to make that claim formally because deposition would require full financial disclosure, including explaining those Thursday cash withdrawals? Grant's jaw clenched. No. Excellent. The settlement offer is generous. Considering the documented asset dissipation, Harper's willing to forego claims on your bonuses and freelance work prior to the concealment period. She's not pursuing the professional misconduct angle that could affect your architectural license. She's even allowing you to keep the car you bought with marital funds. How generous, Grant muttered. It is, actually, Lena continued. The forensic accountant found additional concerning transactions we haven't included. Would you prefer we dig deeper? No. Then I suggest you review the settlement carefully. Harper's been more than fair. I watched Grant's face as Lena systematically destroyed each escape route he might have imagined. This was what I'd paid for, not just legal representation, but complete strategic dominance. One more thing, Lena added. The Kepler investigation is separate from our proceedings, but if you're terminated for cause, that affects support calculations. Harper's offer assumes you maintain employment. Termination changes everything. Is that a threat? It's a timeline. Sign by Monday, or we pursue full discovery. That includes deposing Ms. Marlowe, your colleagues, and anyone else involved in concealing assets or enabling the affair. This is cruel, Grant said, looking at me. Harper, this is cruel. Cruel. I stood, moving around the desk with deliberate precision. Cruel is gaslighting me for 7 months. Cruel is calling me paranoid when I questioned the charges. Cruel is planning your exit while sleeping beside me. I never called you an October 15th, I interrupted. I asked about the $200 withdrawal. You said I was being paranoid and controlling. November 3rd, the hotel charge. You said I was overthinking. December 21st, Tessa's perfume on your jacket. You said I was imagining things. Each date landed like evidence in a trial. I'd documented everything, including his responses. You have a record of every conversation, every lie. Every time you made me doubt my own perception, I pulled out my phone, scrolling to my notes. Would you like me to read your greatest hits? You're overreacting. You're being crazy. Why can't you just trust me? This is why I need space. Lena's voice cut through. Grant, do you have counsel? Not yet. Get one. Harper, I'll send the formal settlement documents to Grant's email. Grant, you have 96 hours to respond. She hung up, leaving us in the ruins of our marriage. Grant walked to his desk, his former desk, and picked up the manila envelope again, weighing it like an architect assessing structural load. You really thought of everything. I learned from the best. You taught me about planning. Remember, always have blueprints before you build. I meant for buildings, not revenge. This isn't revenge. Revenge would be sending these photos to your father, or posting them on Kepler's internal network, or forwarding your hidden account details to the IRS for the amended return you filed. His face went white. You wouldn't. I wouldn't. I agreed. Because this isn't about destroying you. It's about extracting myself from your destruction. There's a difference. I walked to his chair and pulled it back from the desk. Sign the acknowledgement. Take your boxes. Start your new life with Tessa. What if I don't want? Then you should have thought of that before Thursday number 1. He signed where I indicated, his architectural precision reduced to a shaky scrawl. As he set down the pen, I placed one final document on the desk. What's this timeline of your relationship with Tessa, cross-referenced with marital expenditures? My parting gift for your Kepler meeting tomorrow. Why would you give me this? Because I want you to see what I saw. Every receipt, every timestamp, every lie mapped out like one of your blueprints. You always said God was in the details. Well, the devil's there too. Grant stared at the timeline, his architect's eye tracking the damning precision of each entry. 7 months of deception laid out like a failed blueprint. His phone buzzed again. Tessa, growing frantic. He silenced it without looking. 3:45, I said, checking my watch. Building security arrives at 4. Patricia was very specific about the timing. Right on cue. The doorbell rang. Tom from building security stood in the hallway with a luggage cart, his expression professionally neutral. Behind him, Patricia held a clipboard with the updated residence forms. Mr. Walker, Patricia said, her voice carrying the weight of every divorced woman's solidarity. I'll need your key fobs, parking pass, and resident ID. Grant fumbled through his pockets, producing each item like a defendant surrendering weapons. The key fob clicked against the others on Patricia's ring, a small sound that echoed like a gavel. Your belongings, Tom asked, gesturing to the boxed life in our living room. His belongings, I corrected, and Tom nodded, beginning to load the cart. Grant watched his books disappear into boxes, his awards wrapped in the bubble wrap I'd bought for our move here 7 years ago. Harper, this doesn't have to end like... Yes, it does, I said. It ends with you leaving at 4 p.m. on a Wednesday, with security escort, after spending 6 days with your mistress pretending to be at a conference that never existed. Tom loaded the last box. Grant's architectural drawings rolled into tubes like scrolls of evidence. The apartment looked larger without his chaos, cleaner, like a crime scene after the body's been removed. Can I at least, Grant started, then stopped. Never mind. Your car's in visitor parking, Patricia informed him. You have 10 minutes to load it before we tow. Grant picked up the manila envelope, holding it against his chest like armor. At the door, he turned one last time. You know what the worst part is. I waited. I actually thought I was being clever. The Thursday routine, the separate account, the slow exit, I thought I was some kind of mastermind. You were predictable, I said. Men who cheat always are. Thursday afternoons, restaurant charges, hotel receipts. You could write an algorithm to catch it. Is that what you did? Turned our marriage into data points. No, Grant, you did that. Every $200 withdrawal, every lying text, every fake conference. You turned us into a spreadsheet. I just analyzed the data. Tom cleared his throat. Patricia tapped her clipboard. Time was up. Grant walked to the door, then stopped at the threshold. The Santa Fe trip, I really was looking at jobs. Tessa got an offer there. We were going to start fresh. Past tense. I noted. She doesn't know about the Kepler investigation yet. She will tomorrow at 8, He nodded, defeated. You know, I loved you once. Really loved you. I know, I said. It showed up in the data, too. Flowers every Tuesday for 2 years. Surprise coffees during deadline weeks. Date nights you never missed. The patterns were beautiful once. When did they change? When you decided I was the safe choice while you looked for the exciting one. Page 37 has the analysis if you're interested. Tom wheeled the cart toward the elevator. Patricia held the door. Grant followed, then turned back one last time. This isn't over. Actually, it is, I said, pulling the settlement agreement from behind my back. Your signature on the acknowledgement included a preliminary consent to terms. Lena's particularly good with binding documents. His face cycled through rage, disbelief, and finally, resignation. You're not the woman I married. No, I agreed. That woman would have forgiven you, would have blamed herself, would have tried to fix what you broke. That woman believed you when you said she was overreacting. I stepped back, hand on the door. But you were right about one thing. I did overreact. I reacted with lawyers, forensic accountants, and private investigators. I reacted with documentation and legal precedent. I reacted by protecting myself instead of protecting your ego. Harper. Goodbye, Grant. I closed the door with a soft click, listening to the elevator carry him away. Through the window, I watched Tom load the boxes into Grant's Tesla, each container holding 7 years of calculated deception. Grant stood by his car, phone to his ear. Tessa, probably, about to learn that their fresh start had ended before it began. At 4:15 p.m., his car disappeared down 17th Street for the last time. I walked to his former desk, running my fingers across its empty surface. No coffee rings, no scattered papers, no chaos, just clean wood and possibilities. I pulled open the drawer where we'd kept our wedding photos and found it empty except for one thing, the manila envelope, which I'd placed there this morning. My insurance policy, my proof, my freedom. I picked it up, feeling its weight one last time, then placed it back and closed the drawer. The apartment fell silent except for the hum of Denver traffic below. My laptop waited on my desk. Quarterly reports due tomorrow, patterns to analyze, data to interpret. But for now, I stood at the window, watching the sun set over the mountains, painting the sky in shades of ending and beginning. My phone buzzed. Lena. He signed the full agreement. Expedited processing approved. You'll be officially divorced in 30 days. That was fast. Tessa just got notice from Kepler. She called him screaming about ruining her career. Apparently, he's eager to leave town. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Harper. Lena's voice softened. You did good. You stood up for yourself. I did what the data told me to do. No, she said. You did what you needed to do. There's a difference. After she hung up, I sat at my own desk, opening a new spreadsheet. But instead of data analysis, I typed a single word in cell A1 free. Then I closed the laptop and poured myself a glass of the good wine, the one we'd been saving for a special occasion. This qualified. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I'm curious, where are you listening from? Drop a comment and let me know what city or country you're in. I love connecting with people who understand that standing up for yourself isn't overreacting, it's exactly the right reaction. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts below. Have you ever been told you were overreacting when you were actually just protecting yourself? Let's talk about it in the comments.